In this video, I'm going to draw one of our school hallways from memory, but also I have a reference photo up on my computer screen just to show me the idea. Now this is using two vanishing points. This time I'm going to keep them on my paper instead of outside of the paper so that I always know where they are. This is going to make it very exaggerated, but that's okay. Now, just like before, I'm going to start with the corner of our two hallways. It needs to be overlapping the horizon line, which is eye level of the viewer. Now, I'm going to create the orthogonal lines that show me where the walls meet the floor. Next, I'm going to create the ceiling. So essentially this would be the area where the library is in that main hallway and cafeteria hallway. Now I'm going to create the end of this library. My line is parallel to the side of the paper. Perfectly vertical line. I'll erase those little lines in a little bit. Now I'm going to get the other side. Now this is imagined if the hallway by the cafeteria was a little bit shorter. I'm going to reimagine it though as if it's from the opposite angle. I'm going to be adding in a doorway to another imaginary hall. So I have a very short orthogonal line from the other side of the doorway. Now I will have the ceiling that extends. So we're going to create two vertical lines, one for the very end of the hall where we have the doors that go outside, and another one for the other side of this doorway. And it goes all the way up to the ceiling. Now, this is where things get complicated. So for the walls of my new imaginary hallway, I'm going to use the vanishing point on the left. Oh, whoops. So we're going to draw the other hallways on the left and the right hand side around the vanishing points. I got a little ahead of myself there. So I'm erasing those little extra lines. I don't need those anymore. The wall for that hallway on the left hand side looks pretty flat to me, the viewer. So I'm going to make sure that that line is pretty parallel, and same thing for the ones going the other way. So I'm just creating horizontal lines from the ceiling and the floor. Now for our imaginary hallway over here. So I use the vanishing point on the left to connect this line, same thing for the ceiling, where the wall meets the ceiling. I'm using the one on the left. So that'll give it the appearance of vanishing the opposite direction, just like the one closest to me. Alright, so pause here. Okay, next we're going to erase the horizon line that's inside of our hallway. We don't need this anymore. And this is where I speed up the video a little bit. Pause anywhere that you feel you need to. Now we're going to create the ceiling tiles. But first I'm putting in a water fountain. So the water fountain also is in perspective. So anything that's on those left-hand side walls, I'm using the left-hand side vanishing point. If it's on the right-hand side walls, I use the right-hand vanishing point. Vertical lines will always be perfectly vertical. Now, because this water fountain is sticking out from the wall, there are pieces that curve outwards, and I'm going to freehand those without the ruler. So there's our little bottle filling station. Okay, we're going to get the tiles on the wall. For this exercise, I'm going to draw the door to the library, the tiles on the wall, but I'm not going to add in lockers. We're just going to pretend like they don't exist for this photo, for this practice. So we have the red tile. For the ceiling tiles, we're going to start with the edge of this wall right here. Line your ruler up with the vanishing point, the edge of the wall, and continue the line. Now, we're going to rotate the ruler every so often, keeping it lined up with the vanishing point. Now, I moved my ruler so I can actually see the distance between my ceiling tiles. You can always just rotate your paper upside down. That way you can see this. Because I'm right-handed, so it's very difficult for me to hold my ruler like this. I would much rather hold it below than above, but now I'm only drawing my lines from the actual ceiling at the end of the hallway, and they all have to come off that vanishing point on the left. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the right-hand side from the vanishing point on the right. I'm going to continue the line from the ceiling and the wall. And I'm going to have lines that crisscross. Now I need to do the same thing here, flip the ruler so that I can see, or I'll just continue on the left-hand side, finish this wall first. So on the ceiling, you have ceiling tiles, sorry, these lines are going to crisscross. So I'm using the vanishing point on the right-hand side to finish the lines for the ceiling tiles. So they're going to be very oblong shaped. They're not perfect rectangles anymore because it's in perspective. So it's going to look like they're being pulled both directions, left and right. Now I'm going to do the same thing, use the vanishing point on the left to finish off the ceiling tiles on the right-hand side. I want to make sure that these are all about the same size, everything looks proportionate. You use this same technique for any item that's geometric in shape, that's in perspective. So ceiling tiles, floor tiles, wall tiles, any type of tile. If you were going to have a fence in perspective, say we're outside, we're going to use this same technique. Shelving inside of a room, like on the wall, like in the art room, we have open shelves. We use these same techniques. So notice the lines are closer together as we get farther away from the viewer. Closer to the vanishing point, those lines are really, really close together. They're more frequent. Another thing is that you don't see that many details. So after you draw them, you can always go back and erase, leave the very faint hint of a line, because it shouldn't be that dark from that far away. Our eyes aren't that good. We can't see that well. Now, we're using the same technique on the floor, but this time floor tiles are a lot smaller than ceiling tiles. That means my lines are actually closer together. Now, this is easier for me to hold the ruler while I'm doing this. So you'll be able to see this very clearly, and I can move a little faster. The ruler always has to be near the vanishing point. And I'm going to go ahead and just use the left-hand vanishing point for my right-hand tiles, because we use both for this. Now, these are farther away, so my lines are closer together. They're more frequent. I also need to be using lighter pressure on the pencil, because I shouldn't be able to see these lines very well from this distance. I'll do the same thing using the vanishing point on the right-hand side. For the tiles on the wall, whenever we get to that, they are so small, we're just not going to draw them. Now you can always draw a couple of tiles here and there just to get the hint of the tile wall, but at this point it's not necessary. The floor and the ceiling create so much line, it's a little bit busy. So we don't want to overcrowd the artwork with too many lines. Another reason why you might want to go back and erase some of the areas closer to the vanishing point on the ceiling and the floor, so it's just very faint. We get the hint of the perspective lines. Okay, now that that's done, I'm going to get the little tiles over here in the hallway. Awesome, got the tiles all the way down the hall. There's a door to the library, don't forget. So I added the vertical line closest to me first, that's the tallest line. Use the vanishing point to create an orthogonal line for the top of the door. It should be higher than the tiles, and I'm using the same technique twice to get the door frame. Now I decided I do need to fix this side hallway. I'm using the vanishing point on the right hand side to make sure that my floor and ceiling are correct. All done.